There's a moment most people never notice while it's happening. It doesn't arrive with a warning, or a dramatic soundtrack, or a sudden sense of clarity. It slips into your life quietly, disguised as an ordinary second inside an ordinary day. You're staring at a screen, scrolling past other people's progress. You're sitting at your desk, surrounded by tasks you promised yourself you'd start. You're lying awake at night, replaying the same thought that never quite finishes forming. And somewhere beneath the noise, a small, uncomfortable realization surfaces. It's not that you can do this is that you haven't started. Overwhelm doesn't announce itself as fear. It shows up as distraction, as busyness without progress, as the illusion of preparation. You tell yourself the task is too big, the timing isn't right, the plan isn't perfect yet. So you answer emails, you clean your workspace, you watch videos about productivity instead of actually producing anything. And every time you delay, the task grows heavier, not because it changed, but because your mind did. Marcus lived inside that cycle longer than he wanted to admit. He was 32, smart, capable, and full of ideas that never made it past his head. From the outside, his life looked ready for a breakthrough. He had experience. He had savings. He had a business idea that made sense on paper. What he didn't have was movement. Every morning, he sat in front of his laptop, staring at a list that felt more like an accusation than a plan. 70 hours of work, weeks of effort, decisions he felt unqualified to make perfectly. The weight of the entire future sat on his chest before he ever typed a single word. So he did what many intelligent people do when intelligence becomes a hiding place. He waited. He told himself he needed clarity. He told himself he needed energy. He told himself he would start tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week. Next week became next month, and progress stayed exactly where it was. The problem wasn't laziness. Marcus cared deeply. The problem was scale. His mind was trying to leap to the summit without taking a single step, and standing at the bottom of that mountain. The distance felt so overwhelming that doing nothing felt safer than doing something small. The night his wife finally confronted him, it wasn't anger in her voice that shook him. It was exhaustion, the kind that comes from watching someone you love stay stuck while insisting they'll move soon. When she told him he had to choose either commit to the business or let it go, Marcus realized the waiting wasn't neutral. It was a decision, and it was costing him more than time. That same night, he called his uncle, a man who had built companies, failed publicly, succeeded quietly, and understood something Marcus didn't yet have language for. After listening patiently, his uncle laughed, not because the situation was funny, but because it was familiar. "You're not stuck," he said. "You're overwhelmed by the finish line, and you're trying to start from the end." Then he introduced Marcus to an idea so simple, it almost sounded insulting. Commit to 10 minutes. Not an hour, not a full session, not until it's done. Just 10 minutes of real work on the thing you're avoiding most. Marcus didn't believe him. 10 minutes felt insignificant, laughable. But that was the point. 10 minutes is too small for your brain to argue with. It doesn't trigger fear. It doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't require motivation. It simply asks you to begin. The next morning, Marcus sat at his desk again. Same list. Same fear. But this time, he didn't look at everything. He picked one tiny piece. He set a timer for 10 minutes. He told himself he was allowed to stop when it ended. No guilt, no expectations. The first few minutes were uncomfortable. His thoughts wandered. Doubt crept in. He felt the familiar urge to quit, but the timer was still running, so he stayed. By the time it went off, something unexpected had happened. The work existed. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for the first time in months, Marcus felt something shift, not motivation, but trust. He reset the timer. What Marcus discovered over the next few weeks wasn't that 10 minutes magically solved his problems. It was that starting removed the weight he had been carrying in his mind. Momentum replaced resistance. Progress replaced guilt. Discipline stopped feeling like punishment and started feeling like self-respect. Some days he stopped at 10 minutes. Some days he didn't. But every day He showed up. And that consistency quietly rewired his identity. He stopped seeing himself as someone who planned and started seeing himself as someone who acted. Within weeks, the business plan existed. The website took shape. The ideas moved from imagination into reality. Not because he worked harder than before, but because he stopped asking himself to do everything at once. This is what most people misunderstand about productivity. The barrier isn't time, it's starting. And starting doesn't require confidence, clarity, or motivation. It requires permission to begin imperfectly. Right now, there's something you're avoiding. You know exactly what it is, and it's not avoiding you, it's waiting. Waiting for you to stop negotiating with your fear and take the smallest step forward. You don't need to change your life today. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to see the entire path. You only need 10 minutes of honesty with yourself, 10 minutes of effort, 10 minutes of showing up. Because identity isn't built in breakthroughs. It's built in repetition, in ordinary moments. On ordinary days, when no one is watching, set the timer. Start small. Let momentum do the rest. And tomorrow, do it again. Thanks for watching.